How are you?
Well, Rachel, I'm here, so I must be doing pretty well at least. I must be doing fairly okay, because if I'm here to sit down and talk about the shenanigans that Jimmy Holden got up to, then I must be just riveted by all of the stuff. How about yourself?
Okay.
She's okay. She said it. No, come on, Rachel, give us more. That's what we're here for on Yum Yum Podcast. We're here for you to give us all of the goss. So how are you doing?
Pretty good.
She's doing pretty good. Well, welcome to Yum Yum Podcast, the only podcast hosted by a husband and wife team that dare to remind you all about the Yum Yum moment from Star Trek Discovery, an incredible line of dialogue, Rachel's favorite moment from Star Trek Discovery. She says it to me every night. She leans over in our sleep. She wakes me up by poking me in the ear with her lips and whispering sweet nothings, but the sweet nothings, when I decipher them in my dreams, it is actually her saying, I love that moment from Star Trek Discovery where the lady said yum yum randomly. I thank you, Ryan, for us hosting a podcast named after it. And then I wake up in the morning with just absolute vigor. It energizes me, as it does Rachel, of course. And Rachel, what do we do here on Yum Yum Podcast? What are we talking about today?
Today we are talking about an episode of the Sci-Fi television series, The Expanse.
This is during the era where it was on the Sci-Fi channel. I know this, as do you, because our copy of the Blu-ray has the Sci-Fi logo pop up aggressively out of nowhere. It really ruins every single scene it's in when it just pops up.
It's just that, like, when you think the credits are almost done, but we wait for that logo, and we're like, now it's over.
Now I can have my immersion. Now I can have it, because the thing that breaks it is finally out of the way. We can move on and
settle in. The episode has actually started now.
Yes, it has.
The logo is gone.
It's gone, but we are here to talk about episodes of The Expanse.
Mm-hmm.
We are going through it as first-time watchers, so please, no spoilers. What do we say to those who spoil, Rachel? What do we do to those who spoil details?
We say that they're very naughty and we're disappointed.
We say it with very solemn, hushed tones. You're very naughty, and we're disappointed. And you don't want to be a victim of disappointment. But The Expanse is a beloved science fiction series, and we have never seen it, so we're using our podcasting experience as an excuse to give it a watch through, and
documenting that experience and our evolution in our thoughts about it as well.
And what else do? We release this for our patrons first on Patreon.
Oh, I thought you were going to ask for me to introduce the yum yum aspect.
Well,
of our coverage.
We have so much that we do on this podcast. We release it for Patreon. We talk about what was particularly sexy in an episode. But let's find out what the episode is. What episode did we watch today, Rachel? What one did we put in our DVD player / Blu-ray player and marvel at?
Intransigence.
And what does the IMDb description / Blu-ray description have to say about this? They're the exact same. We now have Blu-rays, the full series, and they're the exact same as IMDb's descriptions. Really, really upsetting.
The Rocinante seeks a new game plan as they attempt to avoid capture. Melba's true motives are revealed. Naomi is torn between identity and ideal. Anna seeks a way to stay aboard the Thomas Prince. Now, each of those was a semicolon, not a full stop or a comma.
Because it still had a little bit more to give you, Rachel. Just a little bit more.
Seemed different.
All right. Signal's pretty good inside the ring. It's really good. So you coming or not?
So you really were hungry to tell us all about the yum yum aspect of this. So please just dive on in and let's get it in our veins, in the listeners' ears, and get a taste of what was particularly yum yum in Intransigence.
Regular
Intransigence.
listeners will know that I give 2 yum yum picks. I give an automatic Amos pick and a general pick because Ryan got really bored of me just always picking Amos moments. My general yum yum moment was Melba walking through the hallway in that red velvet dress.
Give the listeners / yumlings out there an honest thing from you. What did you say when you saw her walking in the dress?
I can't remember my exact choice of words. But it was basically like, "Damn, she's hot."
Incorrect. You said, "She's banging."
That's right.
Classy from Rachel. I'm also a class act because this was not a particularly horny episode, because with Yum Yum, we choose what was particularly arousing, particularly sexual. This is a show that introduced its main character via sex, so we were expecting some more horniness, but pretty dry in this episode.
This season,
Intransigence.
it didn't start with sex. It didn't have it in
There's
the
a lot of
premiere
shipping.
episode.
There's a lot of shipping material. So mine is Drummer and Naomi when Naomi is leaving. They just have
the love.
They just have that raw gay energy, and I'm giving it a yum yum for that. I want them to kiss. I think Naomi, the character and the actress who plays her, has better chemistry with Drummer than she does Holden.
Yes.
And I'm upset that she's going back to Holden.
I agree.
Stay where you are and hang out with the cool characters on the cool spaceship.
Like the Rossi crew.
Is it family?
No,
family.
They are struggling without an engineer on board.
Yeah. So, automatic Amos pick. Rachel, it is your time in the sun to tell us what was particularly yum yum for Amos.
Amos isn't that sexy this episode. Like, he is showing how much he's grown as a person.
And not.
And how he still uses his same old tricks, but he just doesn't push it quite as far. He's grown. He's grown a little bit. But I'm gonna go for the basic watching his muscles ripple when he picks up the cameraman.
Sure. Rachel's going for the beef of the beefcake.
Yeah, the brutality.
She's looking at those muscles, can't look away. Now, if I have to give an automatic Amos pick, which I don't, I'm not obliged to, nor do I have to, but I will on this occasion.
Yes.
Because I think he had so many horny little moments, but they were cheeky fun.
Yeah.
And I really liked him saying, "Oh, I was treating them gentle." And I went, "Oh, if that's how you treat gentle, I don't even want to know how you go rough," as I fan myself.
Yes.
But that was, there's so many great little moments for Amos.
But
like
they're
that.
not truly horny moments. It's just if I take that the way that I want to.
Well, that's how we have to work with this episode when it comes to that.
Yeah.
What were your opinions on Intransigence? I don't know what you thought of this episode. You don't know what I thought of this episode. But to just give a summation, what did you think of it?
It was a mechanics episode of everything is moving forward a little bit. And I was mostly entertained by it, but it's one of the ones where I won't remember this episode specifically because it's just everything is just slotting into place where they need it to be. Anna needs to stay on the Thomas Prince. They need to investigate what's in like the bubble inside the ring.
Sure.
They need Naomi back on
The Rossi. Yes, this is very much a moving the pieces.
They need the documentary crew out of the way.
Unfortunately, I loved them. They'll serve a purpose later, I'm sure.
Yeah. And there was another thing.
And the behemoth goes inside the ring.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. This is a fine episode. I thought it was perfectly fine.
And Mao.
Oh, and Mao family drama, backstory drama.
That finally being properly revealed.
Yeah, I thought this was okay. I'm not going to think too strongly about this episode. It didn't really grab me wholeheartedly. There are some scenes and certainly some conversations that I will be chewing on during this discussion, but as a whole episode, it was a fun piece of entertainment. It was a good time, but what I will say in its favor, because I sound very placid on it, which I kind of am, I think this is a very funny episode. This is a very humorous episode. When we were first going through The Expanse, we got season 1, it was very dry, and some people said to us that, well, you're going to have to get used to the fact that The Expanse isn't that humorous of a show. It's not that funny.
Oh, I directly commented on the humor when we were watching it. I was just like, I like where we've gotten to with how the humor comes through.
Everything on the Rocinante, even though that there is danger, there is forces after them and they are running out of space and they don't know where to go, it's still played for some laughs, if anything, rather than genuine tension. There was never any moments during the inside the ring that I actually felt tense. It was, if anything, it was just, we're back in the humor zone. Isn't that weird? The big...
Yeah, but that seems to be the way that the Rossi crew does deal with being backed into a corner.
So let's talk about Melba first, since we already knew.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's supposed to be played as the biggest surprise in the world, the biggest shock in the world, but to move past the fact that, yes, we already gathered this and so on and so on.
Mal.
What did you think of how this episode not only gave us the backstory and information through certain flashbacks, but overall, what do you get out of her motivations and just who she was previously and who she is now?
It makes me sad for her because we see in those flashbacks that Julie's really trying to get her to realize that their dad is never going to love her and accept her. And she's now responsible for attacking these characters that we deeply care about, motivated by trying to avenge her father and sort of step out of Julie's shadow. Like, in that message to Mao, she's just like, and Julie never would have done that.
She's still fighting with her sister who's dead now. Like, her sister's no longer here to fight against, but she's still having almost a petulant teenage girl bickering back and forth with a person who sacrificed themselves.
She's trapped in that dynamic. And instead of, seeing like an opportunity for her to create a life for herself, she instead has gone down that path of revenge. And it's just like, we know your dad, and your dad ain't worth it.
But she doesn't know her father. Julie did.
No,
Julie understood what he was,
but
and what he stood for, or what
Melba
he doesn't stand for.
Refuses to see it.
Because she wants to be accepted.
Yeah.
And if she saw the truth, then she wouldn't be able to garner that acceptance. But the thing is, she doesn't have those strong convictions like Julie does, which Mal, the dad, respects. He respects her
And,
tenacity,
you know,
even if it is undermining him. He would rather have a Mal in the future who would have the grit that he does rather than what she has, which is just complacency, that she is a person in a gilded
party
cage,
planner.
a party planner. That's it. And I was thrilled that we finally got this, and the way that they did it was nice too, because Anna is talking to that rich society lady from the previous episode, and Melba hears that woman's very distinct laugh, and it flashes her back to the party. And I like with that too, in the back of our brain, we're waiting for Melba to be revealed via that rich society lady seeing her on the Thomas Prince, because
of her being like, oh, Melba, what are you doing here?
Well, she wouldn't call her Melba, would she? But
no.
But she, what is her name? It's like Clarissa Mao. I cannot recall. But she goes back in time in her mind to this very distinct moment where it was probably the last time her family was together. Because Julie leaves from there, and then everything that we know that goes on happens. Julie joins the OPA, she gets kidnapped by her dad, she gets blue gooed, she dies, she resurrects, she becomes a flying space station, she crashes into Jupiter, and now we have the ring. Into Venus, and now we have the ring. And it's still Julie in a way, and she's having to go into this unknown area to make sure she completed the job against the man that she holds accountable, even though really the person that is to blame for all of this is her own father, the person she's trying to impress, a person who does not respect her and never will respect her.
No, and we know that destroying Holden will not get her what she wants.
Do not walk away from me. Don't you dare turn your back on me. I am through being humiliated by you.
Our father is a damaged man. You're never going to be good enough for him.
Here she is, just falling down the same old tricks that she did at that party, and I love that. I'm really interested in her now, because earlier we just see her and they're not telling us who she is, but we can tell who she is. So there was a level of disengagement with her because the show is obfuscating in a way that was very clear. But now that we have the meat of the matter with her character, there's something really dramatic there. I'm looking forward to seeing her. And with what we have here too is she sends that message back to her father, right? She uses somebody else's communicator. She
the
grabs
man she killed.
Yes, exactly. She uses the person she killed, use a recording device to talk to his family to get this message to her father, and it's just this twisted thing of, especially on the Thomas Prince, we get a couple of stories about people and how far they're willing to go for family or for themselves. And this is an example of someone who's thinking she's doing something best for her family, but she's just doing it for her own needs and her own wants. And you said it, it's the man that she killed. And she's staying aboard the Thomas Prince because she wants to go inside of the ring and to make sure that Jimmy Holden is dead, which is the vilifying aspect. But what is the show doing to humanize her in the present rather than just using the flashbacks?
She still feels guilty. She keeps on getting annoyed at the crewmate for not respecting him and his stuff.
The man that she brutally murdered.
Yeah. And he, like, when that guy, like, takes his drinks and he's just like, well, he doesn't need it. And the lady who reads through the personnel notes and performance reviews, and she
killed a family man.
She's doubting herself and her actions. but then doubles down
and projects it onto other people. So this anger that she feels, this indignance, this intransigence, as in the title, all of this negative emotions that she has inward, she is putting outward. She's putting it on these other people who actually knew him for a start, by the way. She didn't know him. She opens up his locker and there's a picture of him and his family and she's surprised. She's surprised by that, but not only surprised, but it's a cold water in the face of reality that this person wasn't just some faceless character that you murdered. It was someone that had a life, someone who had people relying on them. These are the co-workers that relied on him. You are one of the people that relied on him, and now he has a family back home who will never see him again. And that is how they playing her in terms of like trying to garner some emotion out of her that isn't just us looking at her as the new villain. But what do you get out of when a series plays with a character like that, where they've done a horrendous thing? They've done a very bad thing, such as murder someone. And then they feel this guilt, but we also see them, as you say, double down.
I think it makes a lot of sense because there is an element of truthfulness to that, of sometimes you make a decision and you're confident in that, but when you begin to regret it and you know that you can't change it, you double down on it. Because it's just like, well, I've already done it. I can't go back and change it. So I've just got to keep committing. Even when you get that feeling, that ache of, oh, I fucked up. But instead of changing, you go, well, I'm on the path.
Is this a character that will be teed up for a redemption arc? Do you think that, or is it too early to tell? I think they are.
I think they are as well. Like I never got the sense that Melba was going to just be evil. From those scenes that we got with her planting that bomb, there is a lack of confidence. She is not self-assured. And I think eventually somebody will be able to reach her. And I think it's going to be Anna. Because Anna keeps on trying to reach out to her.
Yeah. I think there is definitely the road of redemption, and you can always tell, or at least most of the time you can tell.
They keep the door open a little bit.
By how soft the character is played, not only by the performer, but by the writing and the focus on them in the direction. Because although Melba crushed this guy's head in and then hit his body, and now she's framing it in this way, with all of that sorrow she feels, but even when she's entering her full villainous mode where she's very proud of what she's done, you see very quickly that it's a hollow victory for her, that it's ashes in her mouth, and she's not really satisfied, and she's directionless, she's rudderless, and we've seen that be in the series through and through and through and through with characters where they aren't sure of their place in life, but they think that they know what they've got to do, so they're just going to commit to the path, as you say, and then realize that that isn't the true thing of it. And that's actually a big message in this episode too, is that. And with her, say, in comparison to Aaron Wright, there's a warmness to her. While Aaron Wright, he had that cold veneer, that very villainous thing. So when they even teased the idea of a redemption for him, and it was a ploy, when they teased it, you and I gave each other the side eye of, that's not going to be the case, because he was so clearly villainous. Well, this character, even though they've done villainous things, they don't come across as so clearly villainous. And I think that
villainous without being a villain.
Yes, exactly.
Like I was saying, Anna is tied to Melba. and the fact that both of them are staying on board for very different reasons. But both of them are, for better or worse, going through the ring.
Anna was supposed to leave because after the events of the last episode, Avasarala calls back all of the civilian ships, or all of the unneeded civilians, and Anna was going to leave, and she was really upset by this because how could you not be? And she's having that conversation with the what did she say? She was like an aging debutante.
Yeah, that's what she refers to herself as.
And
A new Melba as a Mal.
Yes, that knows Melba as a Mal. I can't wait for that to pay off. That has to pay off.
She was referring to Julie, but...
Yeah, but so debutante lady is going to stay because of all of these elaborate reasons, because it's who you know, basically. It's who you know and the money you have and the power you have. The classic haves and have-nots. And since Anna is friendly with this woman, Anna's going to stay too, because she opens up her heart. She is honest after saying a bunch of stuff that sounds honest, but isn't really. That whole spiel about how this is a miracle. I really loved that. I really loved how at the start of it, that seemed like the good enough reason, right? Her whole entire thing of this is a miracle. I've never been alive for a miracle. There's never been a miracle in my lifetime. And then she even says, and this isn't like a miracle, but it's something. And for Anna, you could buy that. You could say, oh, well, that's enough of the reason. But then she keeps going. She keeps giving more excuses for what it is, and is just poked and prodded of being like, come on, give me the real reason. What's the real reason? And Rachel, what is driving Anna to stay here? What is making her stay aboard the Thomas Prince to go into the unknown?
She wants to be there. She wants to be a part of it. She feels like if she leaves, she's missing out.
Purely selfish desire for the chance of adventure.
She can't message home. She's like drafting that voice message, being like, "Hey, wife,
and child,
I'm going. Conveniently, by the time that you get this, I'll already be gone, so you can't. Bye."
So, with the reveal, or just the drop of she's doing this for purely selfish reasons, and that's very deliberately worded because it's after all of these highfalutin, very chin-stroking, philosophical musings about faith and spirituality in several episodes with her. And now it is plain and simple, I'm doing this because I want to do this. And even saying selfish desire gives this this very much... The characters are aware that this is almost like a sinful act on her part, but she's going to do it anyway because of just pure human nature. And what do you think that does in terms of shading Anna as a character? Because we've been talking about the last several episodes with her, that it could be very easy to say that she's too perfect of a character, that she's too noble, too great, too much of a strong-willed person, that every scene with her is having a good one-upmanship with the other person. But
it's great to see them dust her up a little bit and to see her struggle with that as well, because she doesn't want to admit to herself more than anything that she wants to go because she wants to be there.
I love how the actress Elizabeth Mitchell plays Anna, and she plays it like this during this episode, which is with an overwhelming warmth. So, with everything you said, it is completely true, but yet I still like her because the performer plays her so likable. So, you could make this the mud and dust and all of that on the character to dirty her up a bit, to give her a bit more of an edge, rather than just being a goody two-shoes.
Yeah, but the difference here, I think, is not that they are dirtying her up, they are making her more human.
If I said I really needed to see what's out there, closer, you want to indulge in a selfish desire to be a part of something amazing. Yeah.
She tries to make a message for her family. Now, I couldn't tell if it was a case of she was just drafting it or she sent it off real quick and then she just moved on. But the case is she is going to leave them behind. And no matter what she does, she's not having the healthy relationship that she once had. Her wife has expressed deep concerns about how much Anna is changing and how much she's willing to throw herself into the action, even though she is still very supportive of what Anna does. But this is very much a step too far, and Anna knows it. Anna could die. Anna could never return, and even if she does, the damage that she's doing could be very great to the sanctity of their love and of their family, because
breaking that trust is going to be devastating to her wife.
What does it make you feel about Anna? Because we said that the acknowledgement of the selfish desire to do the thing makes us like her a bit, but now they go those extra steps of showing us the toll it's going to take, not only on her, but we can imagine on the people around her. Again, tying back into how Melba is realizing that her actions affected not only just the people in that moment, but so many others. Anna is having to reconcile with the exact same thing, and it makes the conversation she has with Melba all the more poignant, because although they are going through different things, there is a similarity to their concerns in life. But what did you think about that for Anna? What does it make you feel about how she is willing to leave them behind?
Oh, I think it was very honest, because the thing that she wants is to be truly selfish. And to me, I read that moment where she's recording it as her drafting and being like, I'm trying to justify this and I can't.
And then there's the moment when she tries to get the other minister to come with her, the other religious figure, the one who was talking in the other episode. And he is uncomfortable. Why is he uncomfortable, Rachel? Is it because he's afraid of what's in the ring? Is that it?
Oh, yeah, he's afraid. But he is using the same justifications that she feels like she should to leave, right? He has a wife. He has a child. And he is afraid. And that's enough for him to not take that opportunity. And he didn't seek one. Anna did. Because they were both there when the debutante is just like, I'm not leaving. I got a secret.
Yes.
And he's just like, okay, good for you. I like, when does that shuttle leave again? And Anna's just like, ooh, I stay too?
She is hungry. He is not. I want to know more about what you think the show is saying or doing with this conversation, because he says that he cares too much about his family to leave, and he's not going to go into this zone that will only be a representation of what there is already, which is death and bloodshed and horrors. And he says, I was wrong. There is no God out here. But there is a God back home, his family, and he's going to go there. Well, Anna, she is on the exact opposite. She is going to leave her family behind because of her own wants, but also she still believes that God is out there and that this is a first contact situation. We could be meeting more of God's creatures. I don't know what to make. I love this. I love this so much. It's one of the most like thought-provoking scenes in the episode, and it's also a very emotional scene too. Like both characters are playing this as if they are the main characters of their story. To give it to this actor who plays the other minister or reverend or whatever, he is so good in this role. Like I'm convinced by him. Like I don't look at him with scorn and go, "Oh, you're missing out." I completely
I don't
am
look
on
at
his
him
side.
and see a coward. And in another place, another time, in another writer's hands, that's what he would be. He would be a coward and Anna would be courageous. But instead, we get the much more juicy, salacious situation where they are both being courageous and cowards. Because he is being courageous for choosing his family. He's being a coward for running away. And she is being a coward running from her selfishness. And courageous for staying. And a coward for not wanting to leave. And it is so much more interesting because of that.
And what do you think about the God aspect? About that the ring doesn't change anything. The ring has shown us that we are the exact same as we ever were, and that there's just more nothingness there. God isn't just suddenly going to be in there too. He's not there. That's what he's arguing. And for the majority of the episode, he's proven right. We see that he is correct with everything that goes on inside of the ring, that everything going outside of it too. Like, he is validated throughout the episode, and yet I'm leaning on the side of Anna because...
I lean on the side of Anna because I think that in this universe, the idea of God is everywhere. There cannot be said to be a place where there is not God. I do believe that what he's saying has some truth to it in the fact that the ring holds death and destruction. But so does every single fucking new frontier that has ever existed in the experiences of humanity.
On a human level, on just like a individual level too, though, it can be very easy to give in to the depression that falls upon you when you see crisis happen, and it's the same as it ever was, that we see same conflicts from generations ago come up again, and for this religious man to be in space, to marvel at the same wonders that Anna is marveling at, but see the same old bullshit happening, it does bring about that concern. And to think that, oh, if there are aliens, what would be the difference? Are we ready to, and it's going into what Anna said about we better turn back if we're going to meet them as angry fools. And that's what's happening, is we're all acting like angry fools out there. Mars is calling the shots, apparently, because they decided that they were going to. They weren't involved in the conflict last episode. It was the UN and the OPA. But Mars, because they've got their big dick ship and they just decided to fly on in there and do their military might, they've said, we're in charge and we're going to order everyone else to do what they need to do. And that brings resistance from everyone.
But we're going to phrase it in such a way where it's just like, we strongly advise. When we can't tell you not to, because that would be too much. We don't have that much power, but we can be like, we're handling it. You saw it. You saw us go in there.
But we saw that Mars has no clue what to do. They fired probes, they get destroyed, they fire a probe, it gets absorbed over here.
They're testing, they're experimenting, and the Rossi benefits from that.
But they come out of the ring and they say it as, we know what we're doing. They don't know what they're doing, they're figuring it out, but they're bluffing, they're putting on the Mars face that we've seen through the show and we've seen with characters like Alex. And with Alex, just to bring him up for a moment, we praise all of this stuff about Anna, but wouldn't you say she's doing a lot of similar things to what Alex did when it comes to his family? Where he left them behind, he didn't communicate with them properly or at all because he had the urge to go on adventure, to fulfill this quest within himself. And we have scolded Alex. We have said, bad, I hate him, what a loathsome character. But when Anna does it, we find it to be, I guess, a layer to her character that makes her more interesting, but also one more sympathetic. So what do you think it is about the two where they are similar in this way, but we don't like one, but we like the other?
I think a part of it is that Anna isn't trying to pretend like she is a good family woman.
You don't think?
I think, okay, for me, right, I think a point that illustrates the difference between Anna and Alex in this kind of situation is the way that Anna responds to the debutante being like, aren't you married?
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't become indignant. She doesn't justify, like, well, yes, I am, and how dare you insinuate anything like I am a strongly married woman and I love my family.
Which is what Alex did. Which is what Alex did during all of the first season and the second, where he overemphasized that he's so good of a family man.
She's just like, well, yes, I am, but I also want this. She doesn't use her family as a justification for why she's doing it. Alex would have said, well, I need to protect my family at Mars from whatever's in the ring. So I've got to be the one to go do it. But Anna's just like, no, I want this for myself. And yes, I have my family and I have these obligations for them. And that doesn't go away. And that isn't lessened or changed in any way because I am being selfish.
You hit the nail on the head, and to just hit it a bit more for myself, I think there is a difference because we are starting with Anna going on the journey to be away from her family. We are seeing the mistakes. We are seeing her take those certain steps that may be detrimental, and we see her wrestling with it moment by moment. Alex, we met after he already did all of these things and doing what you said, which is justifying it, rationalizing it, making it seem like it was worth it, whilst also pretending like he's still this noble, loving father and husband. And that's where the negative emotions come from us, because Anna, although she's still coming to terms with it, there's been far more time to see her be honest about what is going on here, even though her scenes have been very much with her wife and her child. They've been very much scenes of her saying things without actually saying them. She's saying, oh no, I'll be back. But really what is being said is she's not going to come back. And that usually would make us indignant towards a character. But again, comparing her to Alex, we're just on different moments of this experience where we're early in for her while we're late in the game for him. And I think that really does shift the balance of things in a great way. And as you said, Alex justifies so much via his family, while Anna justifies things from herself. In this episode, she's saying, I'm doing this for me. Alex would say, I'm doing this to save and help my family, but really you're doing it for yourself, which is what Bobby said. Like, hey, at least admit what you're doing here is just for you, and that's better than saying otherwise, which is what we would respect more too. And we've been getting into Alex a little bit more, but not too greatly, because still he's a giant piece of shit.
I can't.
You're frightened. Me too. not so frightened that you're willing to pass up your chance to be part of this. It's first contact. It's not going to happen twice.
I would go. If it were just me, I would. I have a family. My son is 11. I can't risk him growing up without a father.
With the Belter's reactions to things, talk us through it a little bit, because for this half of the season, we've been getting the OPA through a lens of political reaction rather than what we were getting before, which was, I guess, justification of ideology. Like in the first 2 seasons, most of the OPA conversations were characters in it telling people who aren't why the OPA is not bad, actually, but pretty good. But nowadays, since they're legitimized, we are seeing them having to play the game and seeing which is the best methods, trying it the Innes way or trying it the OPA way. So talk us through the episode a bit when it comes to what's happening on the Behemoth.
Oh, I loved Right Hand Man this episode.
Right Hand Man?
Yeah.
Ashford, you mean?
Ashford.
Okay, well, tell us a bit more.
So he knows Naomi's game so easy. So easy. And it's because he's been there. And I really enjoyed the conversation that he had with her of being like, he realized, he's like, where's the chief engineer? And I really like that he kept on calling her the chief engineer because she's not a person at the moment. She's her position. And he needs a chief engineer, so he doesn't want her to go.
Mm-hmm. I think it's also a way of reminding her what she needs to be doing.
Your obligation is here. You are our chief engineer. We need you.
And we need you to stop thinking about your old crew and thinking about us. And this has been a problem with Naomi. She is good when she does her role, correct? We both liked her as a character that was the engineer and when she had to step up to being the one who could be a commanding person. But
yes,
she will put this roadblock for herself over and over and over and over again, like how she is in this episode of thinking back on something or getting so emotionally tied up in something else that it puts these blinders on to what needs to be done right here and now. And I liked how Ashford, I didn't think of it too much as like him dehumanizing her or trying to, I thought of it as him nudging her to be like, hey, you care about the wrong thing right now. Maybe he's saying the wrong thing in general, but right now we need you to make sure we don't fucking die. So be the chief engineer. Go do the thing. And we have Drummer as a captain. She's interesting in this episode.
Speech.
Yeah, she's interesting in this episode. I love how this actress plays Drummer in command because she plays her as both very strong and weak. There are moments that Drummer says things or does things that don't feel confident at all, that she feels out of her element. She admits fault in front of everyone. She admits that if they're dead, I'm sorry. Well, in the other episode, she wouldn't have been sorry about it. And when it comes to Drummer as a character, she's one that we've been getting to know a bit more, but now they've put her in a very high position of power, and we've seen in the other ones, and mainly and especially in this one, that there's an internal conflict there. There's external ones too, with people like Ashford and Naomi pulling her one way and the other, but internally, she's not too sure of herself.
No, she feels undermined by Ashford's presence, but she also, that level of feeling undermined is also her level of insecurity.
But
of feeling like, I've earned the right to be captain, but am I good enough to be captain?
because she doesn't really believe in the mission statement that Fred has assigned her to believe in. And she has Ashford telling her, you have to do it this way. You have Naomi telling her she has to do it this way, which is the correct call. And even if one of them is correct, are either of Ashford or Naomi's beliefs Drummer's beliefs? She doesn't know because she hasn't had to do this before. I think having Drummer be in the previous season this pretty much unnamed character that was always the pillar of Tycho Station. Like, she was the one that was holding things together. She was the one that was actually doing the stuff on the station while Fred Johnson was kind of a figurehead. To now thrust her into, well, you're top dog, and to see her falter in ways makes her, just like we were saying about Anna, interesting. If you give characters faults and problems and issues and hurdles to jump over, they can make them more interesting. They can make them they can make them more endearing too, just more likable.
Yeah, because we understand Drummer as a person and as an individual, like a character. And now we are seeing her put under pressure. And
what does she decide to do? She decides they've got to go into the ring.
Yep.
They've earned their place. This isn't something to be afraid of. This is something to grab.
A belter has a right to go wherever they go. And it's in the belt. It's theirs. It's their right. And they aren't going to be stopped by the inners. That's really a strong part of what lights the fire under the whole crew is we do what we want because we're in fucking charge of ourselves.
They know space more than anyone else. They live in space. They don't live on some little planet like the others. They live in the stars. This is their home. This is their terrain. And they kicked the door open in the first place. So now we should go through. Who said Mars could go through? Who said James Holden can go through? This is ours. We are going through it.
They didn't ask. They just did. And so we can do the same.
And although the OPA is now this body that is so-called respected and so-called on the same level, they're not. And they still have, as Drummer has very much been demonstrating, that urge to resist, that urge to fight back, that urge to show everyone who they are. And even Ashford will agree on the occasion that that's the right thing to do. And so she makes a big speech. She makes a big chest-pounding speech, and Ashford and Yogo and everyone except for Naomi is bashing things, stomping their feet, pounding their chests, getting into the fervor of Drummer's big speech to rally everyone to get rid of the fear, because there was fear on the behemoth. There was fear. There was
she's
people
like, that's
unsure.
not your fear.
It's your drive. It's your desire. It is your rights. And I loved one of the best conversations in the episode was Naomi and Ashford when talking about nostalgia, which is very much something that is connecting the two because they have similar backgrounds. They have joined this new ship, this new area. They have to serve underneath people. And they have an old crew that they feel like they should be a part of again, but
sentimentality towards as well as nostalgia.
Nostalgia is a salt that you have to rub into the wound that you use, but it's a bad thing. Is Ashford's main takeaway of it is.
Or at least it can be dangerous.
It can be dangerous. It makes it, but it's a poisonous thing. Like it is very alluring, I guess, is more the statement of it clouds what was really there. You only think of the good stuff, but you have to really think about why you aren't there anymore. You see, nostalgia gets rid of those moments. So, Naomi, you left the Rocinante for a reason.
You outgrew it, is the thing that he poses. And we don't know how true that is. She just kind of says, no, like, that's not it. Like, I left the OPA first.
And now I'm back here again. Isn't that nostalgia? Isn't that what you're saying? And I'm doing it. And he tries to deflect that. No, it's different. We're your people. Come on, man. Join us. It's fine. Don't turn around what I said on me. Don't do that. And her point kind of is, well, maybe I was just running away. Maybe I made the wrong choice. And that's something, too, that's really fascinating about Ashford. He will lecture people. He will lecture them and he will tell them this and tell them that. And if any of the parties stumble across the reason being, well, maybe I just made the wrong choice and I'm going to make this choice, he will shut that down because he can't argue against that with ideology and articulation and all that. So the best he can do is just say, no, that's not it. Because you've been in arguments before, right, Rachel? And when you own up to certain things, it can shut down the other person in the argument. And, well, that's not the narrative I need you to believe in. So actually, no, it can't be that.
Oh, yeah. Like, we've both been there in arguments with each other when the other person admits to the fault, but you're not ready to be done arguing, and you're like, you just damn it!
And again, their conflict here is him trying to get her to do what he says. He needs her to fall into line. He needs her to be a good belter. He needs her to be what is needed for the whole rather than for the individual. And Naomi's saying, well, I made the wrong choice before because I was a part of a whole of another group.
Yeah, which is why I feel like it's so important that he keeps on saying chief engineer.
But his past is something that we've been told of before as well, and he says that, oh, I kind of miss it and that there were people I could rely upon and that relied upon me, but I've moved on and you have to move on. And there is something to that. That's what I like about him as a character is, although he's clearly more villainous of a character,
he's not wrong. He's not evil. It's not as simple as that.
He has a stance on things that are well realized on his part, but he will, through action, not just through words, go against, undermine, or completely counter the things he says. And that is the rub of his character. That's what makes him an unreliable one, even though the things he says totally line up in a lot of ways for people like him. He will then just flip a switch and go the other way. And he does it with, I don't know if
he will do what needs to be done. Whether he thinks that it's the right thing or not. Like, it's really unnerving when Naomi is just like, oh, so you are happy to kill innocent people.
Yes.
That's somehow worse. That's somehow worse than if you just thought that they were guilty and you shot them.
And I think it's a lot of it is down to the actor, but to give credit to the writing, but he does all of these contradictions with a level of subtlety that if you aren't paying too much of an attention to him, it looks like everything he does and says is on the level to a degree, and which is what the character is relying upon. He is relying upon the charisma to get him through into a lot of places. And I think this actor, he really just brings the gravitas to this role that could easily be mustache twirling bad guy. I mean, look at what he appears as. He's this grizzled older guy with a big scar on his face, this gravelly, raspy voice. He comes across, he looks like and sounds like an evil cartoon villain man, but the performance adds something to it where it goes beyond that.
So you're okay with killing innocent people? That just makes it worse.
Not if they protect mine. Now, I know what you're feeling. Guilty, yeah, because we put your old crew in danger. Well, guilt is like salt. You put a little on, it hides all the bitterness.
And we've spent a lot of this episode already in the ring with the Rossi, and then, like, we don't go on to the Mars ship. We just see what they do from the Rossi's perspective. And we've gotten a little bit more information. We can see that there is sort of a dome. There's a limit to how fast you can go before you kind of disappear, disintegrate, die,
blink out of existence.
Don't know. But also if you reach the edge of the bubble, the same thing happens.
There's a lot of technicals here. The edge of the bubble, you'll blink out of existence. If you go too fast, you'll get what happened to the rock hopper. It grabs you and stops you, but the momentum of it will lunge you and kill you. And so they've determined, because of the Martians, that you can go a certain speed before that happens to you. So everything is moving, but really, really slowly is what's going on.
Which is why the missile has sort of veered off. Like, the missile and other things are being pulled into this thing at the center.
The nucleus is what it is called. And the Rocinante isn't too sure what to do and where to go. They can't go back out. They can't go too far or else they'll hit the edge, because this is a bubble they're in. There's this blue bubble, and then there's this weird thing in the distance that looks scary and ominous. And I just wanted to say something about all of the technicals here. They handle it with a very blasé attitude, which makes it both entertaining and frustrating, because Miller will come in later and say all of this technical talk, but he says it as if none of it matters. And that's how I feel about the episode in general, where a lot of the sci-fi technobabble mumbo jumbo is
like it's
said
out of obligation.
But not because of laziness, but that's because the characters are so exasperated by it all at this point. Amos, I think, says, "Oh, this reminds me of Eros again," and everyone's like, "Ugh. Thanks." Like, that's not what we want to hear, but all right. And I don't know, did that make it better or worse for you that a lot of the answers or the nitty-gritties when it comes to the technical aspects of this was handled in the way it was during this episode?
It didn't bother me too much. If, like, it was that kind of thing of, like, oh, the Sci-Fi show isn't interested in doing sci-fi right now.
Yeah, they will do it. They will tell you the things, but that's not what they're here to do.
We're not here for this. Like, that's existing because we need it to, because this is very sci-fi, but
I like
journey, emotion, character.
And it is very much what you say at the beginning. They are putting the stuff down so that they can play with it later. So they're giving us the building blocks to understand what is going on inside of the ring, to the Rocinante, to the Martian ship, to the missiles, to satisfy our quench, that thirst that we have in this episode. But we're still wanting more in the next episode or the next episode.
Because it's that thing of the answers give you more questions.
The whole episode has this eeriness about it with the bubble, not only because of what it looks like, there are no stars inside, but the speed of everything. The missile is slowly going away from the Rocinante. This Martian ship is slowly crawling up their arse. And yet when we're on the inside, everyone's running around doing stuff, everything's normal, but when we cut to the exteriors, it's this unnatural stillness in space. Something I was curious of, they didn't really get into, was when the Martian ship stuff comes out of the ring, do they experience like a time differentiation thing? Like in the ring, it feels like we had this much time, but when we come out, actually this much time had passed.
I was a bit confused because I thought they sent a ship in and it hadn't come back out yet. But they were like...
They sent a probe out to say blah to people, right?
Yeah, like I thought that. Yeah, I was just like, did they go back out? Like, did they go in and come back out? Did they play the hokey pokey, or did they just agree to send a ship in, and then once the ship was in, another one sent out the message? Like, I know that if I was paying enough attention, I probably would have been able to follow
There
it.
is a lot of maneuvering in space.
I was just like, Mars has a ship in there.
They have
Mars
their
has
big
ships
warship.
outside of there.
Is that the one with Bobby on it?
Don't know.
I think so, right? Narratively, it would be satisfying.
Yeah.
Hey, random check-in. Isn't it weird that Bobby hasn't been in the show for a bit and I don't miss her in any single way?
That's what we predicted, so I don't find it that weird.
Christian appeared for a moment and I was so thrilled. I was like, hey, bring her in. I don't know how, but I want her to be more than just on the TV screen. Oh, please, I miss her. But the lack of Bobby, I've not felt any, oh no, where's Bobby at? I miss her so much. I don't even hate Bobby, but the story is working.
We grew to like Bobby.
The story works fine without her is the thing I'm saying.
We don't miss her, no.
I'm saying like the narrative thus far does not require her.
No.
It's just chugging along at a good speed, which is hilarious because inside the ring that they're really slow. So there's all of that. And the cameraman is found out. Amos deduces what went wrong and beats the fuck out of him, destroys his little camera and grabs him and reveals to everyone that it's the cameraman, and the cameraman gives it up.
I love the visual storytelling of Amos being like, wait, that fucker, and boom.
It's all on the actor's face. You see in the eyes him putting it together.
Ooh, yeah, and it being through the lens of the the camera drone in the shot. I loved it. I loved it because it was just that attention to detail, and it took the breath to do that.
What do you think?
To show us that realization. Even though, like, we already knew as the audience, but the joy in seeing Amos figure it out and deciding what to do with that information, and that being a reflection of where his character is at with his relationship to violence.
When he grabs this cameraman, he shakes the shit out of him. The cameraman is so frightened and seems genuinely shocked at what has gone on that he gives up the fact that he was the guy who did it. And
there's no point in him trying to deny it. And he's just like, well, yeah, okay, I did it, but I didn't do this. Like, this wasn't what it was meant to be.
What was it meant to be for him?
He says he was meant to create a backdoor into the system for this person that he never met. And we are assuming that that's Melba.
We know it's Melba, but why did he do this? What's he get out of this? What was his purpose for doing this? What, just money?
Yeah, I think it's just money.
And okay, that's fine enough, I guess. He was just a stooge. He was just a pawn. Mm-hmm. And he seems genuinely shocked, and Amos doesn't buy it. No one does. Monica, the reporter doesn't buy it either.
No.
She's pissed off at him. Mm-hmm. And again, further cementing that she had nothing to do with this. Yes. She was just a means to an end for him.
She was a presenter.
And Amos destroying the camera means something very important because he now has killed off the blind man's vision for the rest of the episode. He is just legitimately blind. He has no clue what's going on around him. And Amos thinks, well, I'll get the information out of these two. They'll help me unfuck the ship. And they can't. No. Amos isn't an engineer in this fashion.
He does it on his own. Like, I really loved that moment where, like, Alex, Amos, and Holden are all there, and like Holden's getting filled in on the shenanigans,
the bullshit that happened.
And he's just like, like, Amos, I do kind of wish that you talked to me first. And he's like, oh, sorry, Cap.
I
It's
apparently went a little too far. That's okay. I wish you told me first, though. Yeah.
Like, Alex is worried about it. Like, you know, like, but, like, I am just gonna gush about Amos's character development again, because I keep on touching on it, because it's just so fascinating to me. Because he's at a point where he is willing to see that his measures may have been too much. Because it wasn't even that long ago that he would be unwilling to see Alex's perspective on this issue. It would have been, I found out the information. That is the important thing. Doesn't matter how I get it, doesn't matter what happens afterwards, because I solved the problem right now.
And he is played up for humor, because each time we cut back to Amos with these two, it escalates in a new way of him torturing them, or him interrogating them, and it's played for genuine menace when he grabs Monica, puts her down, and has the screwdriver at her throat, threatening to murder her.
Yeah, just like she's gonna die. She can either die for something or for nothing.
And
it's
in the past, Amos probably would have killed her to get the point across. In season 1, that was always the threat that he would pull, at least, of, hey, I'll use Alex's human shield and we'll get out, or I would shoot you in the head, Holden, if I was given the choice. But obviously, he doesn't do that here, and he keeps using that as a means to an end, the threat of his intimidation and violence to get them. And it is very funny that the next time we see it is like Alex walking in like a dad being like, whoa, what's going on here? And it's like a crazy situation, and it's him putting the two in the airlock.
And he thinks they're gonna space
Alex thinks
space both of them. And it's interesting because I was afraid that was what drama was going to do with Naomi, that she was going to lure her in and just be like, and bye, bitch.
I know she loves Naomi, so she's going to let Naomi go. And Amos, he has grown up, and he's going to use these two. He's going to use them to give the truth to the Martians. But he's still Amos, where he doesn't think things through the whole entire way. So,
and he doesn't have faith in people.
Yeah,
even if Alex is wrong, right, and it's not.
If he's wrong, right?
That Amos has gone too far, and that's why they don't tell the truth. I don't think Amos will believe that it's his actions that directly cause them to lie about the Rossi. I think
when he says sorry, Cap, I think there's an acknowledgement of like, I apparently went too far. Yeah, I thought I was being gentle.
Like he means it. But I think that there's also a part of him that goes, well, not like that dude was willing to sabotage the ship that he was on.
So fuck him. And she's just collateral.
So why would he tell the truth?
And
why would he admit to Mars that he betrayed the ship that he was on? That makes him look bad. Like, yeah, sure, they might want to fuck me over because I fucked with them.
But his whole point was he threw him out there so that he would go do the thing.
Yeah.
But then he had to throw Monica out there too because, the guy is blind.
My point is beside it.
I love that detail of,
like,
I had to throw her out there because since I destroyed his camera, he won't have a chance because he's blind.
Yeah, I was like,
I love how, talking about the word gentle, how Wes Chatham plays, and it's just so macabre of, hey, put your helmet on. Put your helmet on. Yeah. It's giving them these encouraging smiles, like, hey, make sure, like, they're children needing to be taught a thing. It's just so funny. It's just, this is the type of shit I love about the humor of the show, where they're no longer just telling jokes. Like they're not quipping. They're just doing.
He wasn't that coddling with literal children.
No, exactly. But I love the type of humor that The Expanse has, where it's this type of weird levity where it's not them quipping or saying quirky lines. When we look back at the early days with donkey balls, where it's like that's so overtly silly, or when Star Trek Discovery will just jam in random one-liners or quirky shit just to quote unquote get a laugh. I like how the Expanse does it, where it's just the actors just make choices a lot of the time. Like the script necessarily isn't being funny, but the way it's played really can be.
Our only hope is that Monica and Cohen put in a good word for us.
I wouldn't really count on that. Alex thinks I was too hard on them. I was being gentle.
I mean, I kind of wish you'd run it by me first.
Sorry, Cap.
It's all right.
Alex is here, by the way. He's on this ship. He's doing stuff, and he is
we were talking about him.
He's only really played to be the comedic relief of the episode. He walks in on the other plots, and he has the over-the-top straight man reaction of, "Ho there, what's going on here? Oh boy, gee whiz!" And he's like pulling side eyes, and he might as well be tugging at his collar, and steam comes out.
Yeah.
He is really hamming it up. I think he hams it up so much during the conversation or not conversation with Holden.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and then Holden closes the door again and screams, "Miller!" Again, see, that was great.
And then, you know, a little while after, Miller does appear and he's just like, "Hey, here's all of this information." And Holden's like, "Huh?" It's like, "Okay, we're going to do the allegory thing instead. You got to go to the nucleus." And then
to solve the case.
We ended the episode with Holden just jumping off the Rossi and going to the nucleus.
That's me when I disassociate. Just... Just that image of Holden gliding through the air with no motion. Whoop, that's me disassociating. That's me when I that's me when I clock in for work. Whoop.
Yep.
And
but there's not that much that I want to say necessarily about that. Like,
I have one major thing to say, and I think this is important.
Yes,
this is very important. He's trying to contact Miller throughout the whole episode, and he's
just
not
yelling
getting.
At him.
Yeah, he's yelling and yelling, not getting anything. And I want to say if this is good or bad. Does it push it too far? Does it push it in the right direction? We did not really like Holden to begin with, but now Holden is being very much positioned as the boob. Like, he has dramatic weight and they're countering him in a lot of ways, but the show is far more leaning into him being the punching bag. Somebody to have a laugh at rather than to take seriously. We still take him seriously, but there's this moment where Stephen Strait is directed, "Hey, when you're trying to get Miller to talk to you, can you gurn? Can you just do some gurning? Just do, where he's squinting in his eye and his mouth, and he's just so just."
No, for me, it was the slow opening of the one eye that really got me.
What do you think about that? Because I know I keep asking you, like, what do you think? But, like, I love that they have just embraced having more cheesiness and just
I like it,
theatricality to Holden, especially.
It's a nice evolution
because he was so straight-laced, so po-faced, so stoic, so milquetoast, and now not only is it just, the character has gone on an arc, Ryan. No, they're letting the actor, they're letting Stephen Strait use his skills as a comedic performer, because if you have looked into his past, he has been involved in comedic projects. Like Sky High is a funny movie, and he plays Warren Peace, the angry, angsty boy, and he's very funny in that. And I like that they're letting him literally pull faces to the camera.
It's fun. This episode overall was pretty fun. But does fun equate to good being yum yum, or is it bad, which is yum?
Now, does it get yum being bad from me, or as Rachel said, yum yum? I'm really struggling because overall I did like this episode. I had a great time, but I found good? But I found it also to be just a little bit of an empty episode.
Yeah, it's a moving pieces episode, which
held up by some really great conversations.
Like, it is better than past examples of this same function in The Expanse. but it does not cross over into being good for me. Like, there are very good moments. It is fun, but it doesn't push into the realm of good for me. So it's a yum.
I was walking in expecting this to be the big lore exposition dump episode, which are usually satisfying but also very dry. They are very dry. But instead, we got something that The Expanse perhaps has never done before, which is the comedy episode. I really think of this as a comedy episode. This one is where they just threw their hands up in the air and said, we're not going to take this too seriously this week. And I really am appreciative of that, and I don't think we will get many of these in the show, so I am going to give this a yum yum.
Yum yum.
I think just purely for us, the character work, but mainly messaging in this one was a lot less than in other ones where we've had this back and forth, because this was not, say, spinning the wheels, but it was just taking the scenic route to where it needs to go.
Yeah.
So where is it going next week? What's the name of the next episode? Now, we don't know a single thing about it. We haven't read the description, not looking at thumbnails, don't have a clue. We're just going to guess what will be happening in it by the title.
Because, I got the description from IMDb and had to try and quickly see the next title without looking at the thumbnail or the description, because now the description comes up with the title.
So what is the next episode called?
Dandelion Sky.
Dandelion Sky sounds like a fucking Beatles song.
I think it is going to be one of those ones where it's a story from somebody's past that is woven into the episode. That's was my immediate thought, and I think it might be something to do with Holden. I think it might also be tying back into the fact that there are no stars and sort of the abstract idea of this space within the ring is different.
Interesting. Well, I'll tell you a hope I have. One, I hope Christian appears in person again, physically there, not on the screen.
Floating through space like dandelion seeds.
Oh, yeah. So my main want is Christian to appear, but my main theory of the episode will be the fallout of Holden suddenly disappearing, because he doesn't tell anyone.
No, he just goes.
He just goes, and so we're gonna have Naomi try and dock onto. Yes, Naomi's going to try and dock onto the station, and she's missed Holden just by this much. But here's my big thing of what Dandelion Sky is. What do we think is inside the ring? What is the nucleus? What's this all about? What do you think is the big reveal of what this has going on? Because we thought that the ring was going to be like a jump gate or a stargate where it would just leap you to somewhere else, but instead it's this little pocket dimension that you get to go inside of, and there's a structure.
I think Julie's going to be there. I think that she in some form is going to be there. Also because they got her back for those flashbacks.
It was weird to see that actress actually get to act.
Yeah.
Rather than just say no lines of dialogue or be a wraith.
Really touch on that too much.
But yeah, she was good. She was great. I think that it is just more of what we were thinking of, which is this is about transportation. This is going to transport him somewhere else. So I think that this is basically the transfer point station inside of it. So things come in and out of there, and then they drive out to the ring.
The ring is a train station, and this is the tunnel.
Yeah. No, the ring is the tunnel out, and this is the station where the train. So what I think is going to happen is Holden's going to get in there, get a bunch of babble talked at him, and then it's going to zap him somewhere else, and that will be the end of the episode. He'll be like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah,
and then
I think we're not going to spend a lot of time with Holden. I think it's going to be everybody else dealing with what Holden's done.
I don't have any big,
for the most part.
I don't have any other big predictions to make. This
think
kind of stayed in the same place.
Is going to appear to anybody else.
Okay, yeah, it could just be to Holden. But I wonder why just him.
He does say that the signal is stronger within the ring.
Because,
so
and the brain is better for
might
it.
be wrong.
So
Might be wrong. But I just have a theory.
A game theory?
That it has to do with like the radiation and stuff that makes Holden like a better conduit. Because it's not that like he was also closer to Miller.
Yeah,
but
that's
it's
true.
just like they're using Miller as a vehicle more than anything else.
And the blue goose still on the Rocinante.
Yes.
So that will hopefully come into play. But that is our predictions on things. Thank you all so much for tuning in, for listening. Thank you all out there who support us on Patreon. It means so much to us both that people out there not only like to listen to what we have to say, but you're willing to support us financially for that. And we have a great community on Patreon, and we have our group Discord. We're having a grand old time. We're talking about stuff. There's even a private thread that people can be a part of where spoilers are talked about. Obviously, Rachel and I don't see them, but people seem to be buzzing with glee as every episode passes when it comes to that area. So please, if you haven't already, make sure to join the Patreon so you can get these episodes early, as well as a whole slew of other bonus content that doesn't make it out to the main feed. And if you want to follow us on the internet, we're on all of those social medias under yumyumpod or yumyumpodcast. Rachel, what else is there to plug? Is there other stuff? Is there other ways that people can contact us? Or?
You know, the good old email, yumyumpod@gmail.com. That'll get to us.
And if you haven't rated and reviewed the show, it would be cool. It would be neat. I would give you a thumbs up.
We appreciate it.
We would appreciate it. You know what we would appreciate more? If the Gaunt Belter
returned.
Was here. Wouldn't it be great if he was the investigator? Wouldn't it be great? Holden never met him. Holden never met the Gaunt Belter. So he'd be like, who the hell are you? And then the end of the episode would be him revealing his name. And his name is Gaunt.
See you then. Well, voila.